Hello everyone, and thank you for attending our webinar series on COVID-19 vaccination in Southeast Asia. Today we will discuss vaccination and employment law in Myanmar. My name is Marion Carles and I'm a senior legal advisor and head of DFDL's employment practice group, and I will have the pleasure to host this webinar on COVID-19 in Myanmar today. For those who are not familiar with DFDL, we are a law firm based in Southeast Asia and we specialize in emerging markets. We are present in 9 countries, employ over 150 advisors and more than 300 staff. We have a team dedicated to labor and employment across our various offices to ensure that our clients receive constant, seamless, and appropriate legal assistance when employment legal issues arise. So we will do our best to answer as many questions as possible during this webinar. If we don't have the time or the chance to address your questions, I encourage you to follow up by email. You can easily find our email address on our website. Joining us today on the program is Nar Wah, who is a senior associate in our Yangon office. Welcome to the program, Nar Wah. How are you doing today?
Hi, Marion. I'm good. Thank you.
Thank you, and thank you for being there. So maybe Nar Wah, before we start and go actually to the core of our conversation, can you perhaps provide a little bit of background on Myanmar employment law?
Okay, sure. So hi everyone. Thank you for taking your time to attend this webinar. So I'm starting with a little bit background of the Myanmar employment law. So Myanmar has a common law system and customary law practices. In terms of the employment legislations, Myanmar does not have one single comprehensive and all-encompassing employment law. Myanmar's employment regulations are instead spread across patchwork of different laws, such as the Factory Act 1951, the Leave and Holidays Act 1951, the Workmen Compensation Act 1923. So from 2011, there are development of new laws based on these old laws and regulations and updated in line with the current practices, such as the Employment and Skill Development Law of 2013, the Payment of Wages Law 2016, the Shops and Establishment Law 2016, the Settlement of Labor Dispute Law 2012, the Labor Organization Laws of 2011, etc. And these are the key laws on the employment perspective. And there are also regulations and notifications based on these aforementioned laws. So also there is a workplace safety and health law that has been passed in 2019, but it is not officially enforced yet. So in respect to the COVID-19 situation in Myanmar right now, the first case of COVID-19 was reported in Myanmar around March 2020 and began to spread further across the populations from September 2020 onward. Lockdowns were then put into effect in certain parts of the country, such as specific townships in the cities of Yangon, Mandalay, and other cities around the country. Now, the number of new cases seems to be falling steadily since January 2021, and the original lockdowns that have been in place to prevent COVID-19 transmissions have now been lifted. Shops and establishments have stayed open since then and continue to business as usual, but they are opened with certain common sense rules being followed, such as temperature checks before entering into the premises, sanitizing hands and wearing of masks. Quarantine measures for those traveling from one city to another have also been removed. However, people arriving in Myanmar from overseas are still subject to spending at least 2 weeks in quarantine at a designated facility. So I think most of you are already aware of the political situations in Myanmar right now. Since the beginning of February 2021, dramatic political changes have swept over the country, with public unrest and mass demonstrations taking place in parts of the country. Meanwhile, all of these and other factors, access to the internet, messaging apps, and social media platforms has been restricted. So, as a result of these and other factors, the accurate reporting of COVID-19 cases has not been possible on a daily, regular basis. But there are still some updates on ministerial websites from time to time, though. As per the Ministry of Health and Sports website, as of today, there are more than 140,000 active cases and over 3,200 recorded deaths in the country due to COVID-19.
Do we know if the situation is critical in the hospitals and everything, or we don't really have, we don't really have feedbacks on this?
So now there are some COVID control and command centers before, but now these are already removed and closed. Okay. So in the hospital, we do not aware, much more cases of the COVID are reported.
Okay, thank you very much. And so with this in mind and putting this into context with with the vaccination campaigns that has been rolled out in other jurisdictions, I was wondering, where Myanmar stands, whether, anything has been done in this regard already.
Yes, can we say so?
So the vaccination campaign started in Myanmar, right?
Yes, the vaccination campaign has already begun. The Ministry of Health and Sports implemented vaccination for government staff members since 27 January 2021. So there are also announcements posted on notice boards of some COVID-19 command and control centers before they are removed, that all citizens age 65 or older could be vaccinated there from mid of March 2021 to 23rd April 2021. But in practice, all citizens and foreign residents, regardless of age, can be vaccinated at the COVID-19 control center, and also the Myanmar Convention Centers and most township ward administration office. And also later in April, we also noticed that, the other places like the government official offices are, invited to be vaccinated. So the type of vaccine used in Myanmar for the first batch is Covaxin, manufactured in India. We also aware that Covaxin, which is manufactured in China, is used for some government officials. But we do not have, the exact number of vaccine has been imported and used thus far.
Thank you very much. That's very helpful. So maybe now we can move a little bit more further, and one of the questions that we get a lot from our clients is, okay, we understand that the vaccination campaign started, and as you said, it is actually open to everybody. So with this in mind, can an employer require its employees to be vaccinated?
Actually, in Myanmar, we are not aware of any mandatory vaccination announcement or policy which allows employers to demand that its employees undergo vaccinations. However, in practice, most employers encourage their employees to do so.
Yeah, so they encourage, but they cannot force the employee to take the vaccine.
Yes, correct.
I think the distinction must be made. Okay, thank you very
Yes.
much. And well, still on the same topic, can employers refuse to hire applicants that have not been vaccinated or who do not wish to be vaccinated? And again, I appreciate that we are maybe a little bit ahead of time because this is still a developing area, but do you see this happening in practice, and does the law would, allow this?
But yeah, also there is no express legal provisions or notifications stipulating, vaccination as a prerequisite to being hired. During the recruitment process, an employee is prohibited from any act of discrimination based on factors such as membership of union, labor organization, nationality, their religions, gender, and age. Otherwise, there are no legal provisions which expressly regulate vaccination as a component of hiring requirement.
Thank you. Yeah, so the discrimination angle should always, be taken into account when, taking some measures. So of course, vaccination triggers lots of questions, and there is a specific area of laws that may raise indeed a lot of questions. This is everything that relates to data protection. So my first question will be, is there any data protection law in Myanmar, and if one exists, is the information concerning an employee's vaccination considered as a health information or personal data under such data protection law?
Well, so Myanmar does not have a specific personal and data protection law. However, the electronic transaction law restricts anyone from disclosing another person's personal data to any third party without the consent of that person. So the term personal data is defined in the electronic transaction law as any information which has been or could be used to identify a person. There is no definitions of the sensitive data as well. So given the lack of legal provisions, vaccinations could be considered as health information of a person. And in general practice, it would be sensitive data of a person.
Thank you. Thank you very much. So with this in mind, and also I appreciate that, Myanmar doesn't have a dedicated data protection law, but what is your recommendation in terms of, collecting, processing, and transferring information relating to the employee's vaccination status?
Okay, in terms of collecting and transferring of the status, there are no specific legal provisions in this regard as well. However, in practice, the employer may request a certificate of vaccination and status from the employee and other health information as required by the nature of the business. So the shops and establishment law requires that the employer arrange and keep the respective data, lists, contracts, and evidence forms, to be inspected by the authority or the inspector. So from our reasonable interpretations of this law, it is likely that the employer can arrange and keep personal records of the employees, including personal data and health information. So as long as this is not disclosing to the third party without the consent of the employee, that should be not an issue.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much for the clear answer. So maybe moving back to the issues triggered by the vaccination from an employment law perspective. Can employers, in your view, terminate employees who refuse to be vaccinated? So still, I think we are still a little bit ahead of time, but do you see this happening in the future?
Okay, so there is no explicit provisions with respect to this particular as well of dismissing employees for refusing to be vaccinated unless, vaccination forms a part of workplace policies as consented by the employees and as approved by the relevant labor office. So as per the law and regulations, the employer can terminate the employees if they commit a gross misconduct, which is defined under the employment policies. If failure to be vaccinated is included in the gross misconduct policy, if it is agreed by the employees and also that policy is approved by the relevant township labor office, then the employer may terminate the employees based on this requirement. But however, until now, we are not aware of any precedent in this regard.
Yeah, and especially I think it remains to be seen whether the township labor office will accept, an employment contract containing this provision.
Yes, correct.
Yeah. So yeah, I think it will be a very interesting area that will probably develop in the next few months. Well, thank you so much for your time, Nar Wah. I see that we have one question because you actually mentioned that the vaccination in Myanmar stopped. So do we have an estimated date in terms of, when the vaccination may start again and take over?
There is no official announcement that they will import more vaccine for the people. So we are not sure about this right now.
Okay. Well, so we will continue to monitor and follow up okay. Thank you very much.
Yes.
Yeah, so thank you, Nar Wah, and if the audience has any question regarding this webinar, feel free to contact me or Nar Wah. You can again find our information on our website. This session has been recorded and will be available shortly in our website and social media. If you enjoyed this program, I encourage you to connect you tomorrow at the same time for the Thailand session, where our legal expert will discuss COVID-19 vaccination in Thailand. So that concludes our webinar for today. Thank you again for participating, and I'll see you next time. Thank you. Thank you, Nar Wah.